Hello, curious minds! Welcome to Brain Capsule. Imagine this, it's the late 1990s, the world is buzzing with excitement, preparing to enter a new millennium. Cities are lit up, celebrations are planned, and everyone is looking forward to the year 2000. But behind the festive cheer, there is a quiet anxiety, a fear of something invisible yet potentially catastrophic, the Y2K bug, also known as the Millennium Bug. The concept was simple, yet terrifying. Computers used everywhere in daily life might misinterpret the year and malfunction. Systems that manage money, operate airplanes, run hospitals, and even control traffic lights were at risk. Imagine a world where your bank, your flights, your medical devices, or even your utilities could suddenly fail just because a computer misread the date. The worry was real, global, and palpable. Now let's dive a little deeper into why this happened. Computers don't think like we do. They follow rules, they read data exactly as it's given. And in the early days of computing, memory was expensive, so programmers had to make compromises. One of the biggest compromises, the format of dates. Instead of writing the full year like 1999, they saved just the last two digits, 99. It saved space, it saved money, and for decades it worked perfectly fine. But when the clock ticked from 99 to 00, chaos loomed. Computers couldn't know if 00 meant 1900 or 2000. Simple, right? But when you multiply that incessantly across millions of systems worldwide, it suddenly becomes a massive problem. And it wasn't just your home computer we're talking about. The systems at stake were critical. Banks and financial institutions managing trillions of dollars could miscalculate interest or fail to process transactions. Hospitals with machines monitoring patients' health could experience errors. Power plants managing electricity grids could shut down or misfire. And there is also transportation systems, airlines, trains, traffic lights, all running on computer code that might fail at the stroke of midnight. It wasn't a hypothetical scenario, this was real life, and people understood that. That's why the panic was global and why so many resources were put into preventing it. So now let's talk about how society reacted. People were scared, really scared, and not just little. This was a worldwide phenomenon that had everyone on edge. Supermarkets stocked up like never before. Families were buying canned food, bottled water, candles, even generators. Rumors spread faster than the internet itself at the time. Some claimed planes would fall from the sky, banks would erase all accounts, and the power grid would fail everywhere. Governments and political leaders jumped in. There were public alerts, awareness campaigns, and official warnings telling people what to expect and how to prepare. The media fueled the frenzy with dramatic headlines like the end of the world or just your computer. It was equal parts panic and fascination. And then there were some truly surprising and even funny preparations. Some companies rented hotels for the IT staff to stay in over New Year's Eve, just in case something went wrong. Airlines tested backup systems over and over. Governments ran massive simulations to see if power plants, water treatment, and hospitals would survive the date rollover. Some people even joked that Y2K was the biggest global sleepover for IT professionals. But beneath the humor, the fear was real, and the world was watching, holding its breath, waiting for midnight on December 31, 1999. Once the world realized how serious Y2K could be, governments, companies, and IT teams sprang into action. They checked and corrected software and computer systems like never before. Every date field, every program, every critical piece of code was scrutinized. Imagine teams working around the clock, day and night, reviewing millions of lines of code to make sure nothing would fail when the clock struck midnight. And it wasn't cheap. The budget for Y2K prevention ran into the billions of dollars globally. Companies spent fortune upgrading their systems, hiring consultants and running tests. Government allocated massive funds to audit banks, power plants, airports, hospitals, anything that depended on computers. It was a truly international effort. Countries shared information, software patches, and strategies to ensure that critical infrastructure wouldn't collapse. Engineers in Japan coordinated with teams in the United States, Europe, and Australia. There were emergency drills, contingency plans, and even backup generators placed strategically just in case. It's incredible to think about it. Billions of people, countless computers, and critical systems all aligned to face a potential global glitch. And it was all done quietly, behind the scenes. Most people had no idea of the scale of the preparations. The dedication, coordination, and sheer ingenuity of IT teams worldwide are what ultimately prevented the catastrophe. And yet, when the date finally rolled over January the 1st, 2000, for most of the world, nothing happened. So what actually happened when the clocks rolled over to January the 1st, 2000? Surprisingly, very little went wrong. For most people, life continued as usual. There were a few minor glitches here and there, some misdated records, small software hiccups, and a couple of ATM delays, but nothing catastrophic. The truth is, the potential disaster was mostly prevented thanks to the massive global preparation. One interesting example is the banking sector. Banks had spent months testing and correcting their systems. When Y2K arrived, transactions went through smoothly and millions of accounts were safe. Without that preparation, the results could have been disastrous. Missed payments, incorrect balances, and chaos. But because of the proactive work, we avoided what could have been a worldwide economic mess. Now, let's talk about the lessons we can take away from this. When we look back at the Y2K bug today, it's tempting to laugh and say people panicked for nothing, but that would be a mistake, because if we really listen to what this event taught us, the lessons are deeper and still incredibly relevant. First, Y2K revealed something we often forget. Our world is held together by invisible systems. We don't see them, we don't think about them, but they run everything. Electricity, water, hospitals, transportation, banking, communication, all of it depends on lines of code written by humans, with human limits, human shortcuts, and human errors. The bug wasn't evil, it wasn't malicious, it was simply the result of people trying to save memory in the 1960s and 70s, never imagining their code would still be running decades later. Y2K reminded us that small decisions can have massive long-term consequences. It also taught us something powerful about prevention. The reason nothing dramatic happened on January the 1st, 2000 is not because the threat was fake, it's because people took it seriously. Engineers worked nights and weekends, governments coordinated across borders, companies invested billions without knowing if the danger would ever become visible. And here's the uncomfortable truth: when prevention works, it looks like nothing happened. We tend to only value action when there is chaos. Y2K showed us that quiet, boring, behind-the-scenes work can be what saves the world. Another important lesson lies in how humans react to the unknown. Y2K exposed our collective fear of technology we don't fully understand. Most people couldn't explain how computers worked, but they knew their lives depended on them. That gap between dependence and understanding created anxiety. Rumors spread fast. Media amplified worst-case scenarios. Some people imagined planes falling from the sky or cities going dark forever. This wasn't stupidity, it was vulnerability. Y2K showed how uncertainty combined with complex technology can trigger widespread fear, and we see this pattern again and again today. With AI, cybersecurity, pandemics, climate systems, when we don't understand something but rely on it deeply, fear fills the silence. Y2K also forced society to confront its fragile relationship with progress. We like to believe that newer always means better, that technology moves forward in a straight, controlled line. But the bug reminded us that progress is layered. Old systems don't disappear, they stay hidden beneath newer ones. The future often rests on the past, and sometimes on code written by people who are no longer alive. That realization changed how industries approach maintenance, updates, and long-term responsibility. Perhaps one of the most underestimated lessons is this: collaboration works. Y2K was one of the rare moments when governments, competitors, engineers, and institutions shared information instead of hiding it. banks talk to banks, countries talk to countries, experts warn the public instead of denying the risks. And it worked. In a world that often reacts too late, Y2K showed what happens when humanity chooses coordination over denial. Finally, Y2K left us with a quiet question that still echoes today. If such a small technical detail could threaten global stability, what other hidden weaknesses are we ignoring right now? What systems do we trust blindly? What bugs are waiting patiently in the background of our modern world? Y2K wasn't just a technological story. It was a lesson about humility, about foresight, about fear, about responsibility, and about the strange truth that sometimes the biggest success is when nothing happens at all. In conclusion, Y2K was more than a bug. It was a wake-up call about our reliance on technology, the power of preparation, and the human response to uncertainty. It shows us that with foresight and collaboration, we can face even the most daunting challenges. So here's a question for you to think about. What would happen if a similar event occurred today? Are we truly better prepared, or have we grown even more dependent on technology? Stay curious and remember, sometimes the biggest disasters are the ones we prevent before anyone even notices. Thank you for listening and Happy New Year!